It's a fact you're not here. You ain't even real, but you still bring me fear. You make my bones so tired that my soul stands up. But now I'm starting to need to bleed to fill this cup. It's like I'm starting to need to bleed to fill this cup. Oh.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to The Working Wing, the podcast where every week we watch an episode of The West Wing and break it down from our own unique working leftist perspective. My name is Tim Schultz, and joining me, as always, my dear friend, longtime debate companion, and a man who makes Galileo look like Pope Urban VIII.
Oh.
Say the man who exiled Galileo, but Josiah Bartlett won't tell you about that part. Billy Collins is here.
Well, Tim, it's good to be here. It's good to see you. It's good to know that that Bartlett's still going to do what he does to do his little liberal part of
Catholic propaganda going.
Yeah, you got to keep it going. I know that's probably one of your favorite parts of the show, honestly.
They want to talk about how they discovered the Big Bang, but they won't talk about how they locked up Galileo for the rest of his life.
Right. They'll try and they'll be nice about it, and they'll say well, it was only house arrest. All right,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, Tim, it's good to be here. Current events as they are, more or less, same things happening. France is still going nuts.
France is still going absolutely nuts. The Actors Guild might be striking by the next time we record, so we'll probably have some interesting updates.
UPS apparently avoided a strike.
Did they avoid a strike? I thought that they were going down to the wire on that.
See that? Yeah. Well, I heard there was upcoming, basically most of their demands had been met. So there was still kind of if there is a strike, it might be lesser than they thought.
Latest news story I'm seeing is that
they're still on.
Yeah, that talks broke down within the past 2 days.
Oh, okay. Yep. That's there. You go. Then that's. See, these things change pretty quickly, but I know we are in for a summer of striking. At the end of the year, which is
they've made a lot of deals, but there are some sticking points.
Okay. Well, hey, I mean, really, all in all, these episodes, as I was watching them, especially Galileo, I kind of felt like, oh god, there's still plenty of us to get us started talking about plenty of things.
Oh yeah, and some minefields for us to walk into heated debates as well. We'll see where this conversation takes us.
Yeah, for the a Working Wing PM edition, because I didn't feel too hot this morning.
The latest in the day we've ever done one of these.
For real, honestly, it's always just right away in the morning. I got water instead of coffee right now. It's just kind of, but honestly, I shouldn't really be having, we're both third shifters right now, so I really shouldn't be having coffee before bed. But that's not how it is for the working class. You're not supposed to work hard either, but
yeah. So do you want let's get into it. My first note is that's right, because it's ZJ and Bartlett doing prep for their digital classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Or what we would call a digital classroom. But
at this point it's like the 90s PBS version of it. And yeah.
But great chemistry. I mean, anytime you put Allison Janney and Martin Sheen together, I think you get good things. Honestly, I like this episode, Galileo. I do. Despite how corny most of it is, this is one of my more favorite episodes of this entire show.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some aspects I can see of it that are kind of inspiring and fun, but it still is at the same time it's still that Sorkin cheesiness of
very Sorkin cheesy. And
yeah.
The main thrust of this prep session is Sam, doing the work, standing up for pretentious assholes everywhere. he's smart and he can write good. So
And you better. And the next episode we'll get into like it goes really into that. I got some things to say about that one. But
yeah,
anyway, the president's super excited to do this. Yeah, to do this little like kid webinar conference. He's excited to like show off his know-it-all knowledge, and CJ is reminding him that no one likes to know it all, Mr. President. Mr. President's like,
the truth.
yeah, think we know all too well. Yeah, so telling him to be less excited about it. Galileo's their next Mars. It seems like a Mars rover project or something like that. Like kind of like get some stuff to get some like samples and see if water was able to be is discovered. Yeah, more writer bullshit. Yeah, writer bullshit from Sam.
Like, yeah, Bartlett's an asshole, but then when he starts reading off the teleprompter, he stops and he gives like a couple quick notes to the poor NASA writer.
Mm-hmm.
Like something can't be very unique or extremely historic, and like that's just a quick little writing lesson from Aaron Sorkin that has legitimately stayed with me. Like to this day, when I'm writing something, I do not use the phrase "very unique" because of this episode.
Yeah, or extremely historic.
Yeah, exactly.
It's either it is or it isn't. Yeah, then Josh and Toby enjoy the beautiful White House cafeteria. The president does not like green beans. Apparently got printed in the Milwaukee Journal.
Slow news day in Milwaukee. What are you gonna do?
Right. But an unnamed White House source. Ooh, so what unnamed source could this be?
Well,
Leo.
Commission.
Yeah, Leo comes into Josh and talks to him about there's a citizen stamp committee that wants this Puerto Rican war hero who is also who advocated for Puerto Rican statehood on a stamp, and that's problematic because he advocated for Puerto Rican statehood. All like, well, what an un-American thing is advocating for statehood.
Yes.
Like Texas, how dare, I never heard of a more. Why would they ever want to do that? They're the lone.
Can't put Daniel Boone on a fucking stamp or anything.
No, hell no. Why would you think of it? You got to put a person on there like Elvis. That's the real American hero. Yeah, Toby tells CJ about the green bean story. CJ is ignoring it largely, which I would agree with her on.
Yeah, I would agree with her on it should be ignored, and they come to that eventually. But first, they've got to make CJ look stupid.
Yeah, no, they these last couple episodes, this was so full of that, and I was just kind of wondering, like, did Sorkin just like not like this actor? Like, was he just mad?
I really don't. Yeah, he goes out of his way to really make her look silly in these episodes.
Because I'm kind of just like, damn, like she's kind of like more like she's like she's a better character. Like she seems easier on the eyes and easier to watch than like most of these other characters, like by far.
Yeah, she's like, I mean, it's Allison fucking Janney. She's definitely one of the best actors on this show.
Yeah, for sure. Charlie is he's drilling the president on the schedule. President wanted to go and read a bunch of Mars facts that night, and Charlie told him, "Is like, no, you got to go because you canceled this meeting with an Icelandic ambassador yesterday. You have to go to this Reykjavik concert at the Kennedy Center, which he didn't want to go to for an anti-whaling cause. They could go for the anti-whalers.
Yeah, save the whales.
Yeah, save the president's got to watch this horrible concert to save the whales. I mean, like who knew that like those type of events were decided by like little intermediate moments like that? Who would have because it's
an entire like soft power theory of this. Like this is the same reason why the royalists in Britain say that like they need a queen or whatever.
Yeah.
You need a royal yacht or else the whales will all die.
Oh boy! Now I'm like making like succession ties in my head now.
Mm-hmm.
They found out there's an explosion in a Russian oil refinery. Although it's not a refinery, it's a missile silo. Dun dun dun. Russian fear mongering. The Cold War is not over. Then President gives Galileo trivia, and he says that he contradicted Aristotle. He said that was his bravest thing. It's like, well, I mean, here's the thing though, is that Aristotle wasn't like locking people up like thousands of years after his death. Like,
right, exactly. No, and it's like, why? President Bartlett, maybe expand upon why that was brave.
Right.
For negative consequences. It's because the organization you love and have dedicated your entire religious life to locked him up for the rest of his life for publishing true science facts.
Right. that contradicted something that they had been preaching that they were not willing to go back on, or
it wasn't Aristotle that he contradicted that got him left out. It was
no, exactly, exactamundo. Donna ends up helping douchey Josh with the stamp question. She ends up doing like all this based research about this fellow and tries to find like precedents in the past, which don't exactly go her way with American history. CJ discusses the green bean issue with Toby and apparently makes it a big story because they need to make her look stupid and they want to throw back to like the H.W. Bush broccoli comment, which I don't really think that specifically is what hurt him. It's just that's what media will focus on because it's like a catchy, fun little thing to be like, right? Like it's like I really don't think it'll like that'll do that. It's more like his like the other parts of like, hey, I'm not going to raise taxes. Read my lips. No new taxes.
Right, that's what killed him.
Kidding. Like, right. Like, I think like that's the more economic issue than like the 1,000 potential green bean farmers in Oregon that like probably didn't vote for his ass anyway.
Also, it's a weird political artifact of the late 90s that they talk about Oregon like it's a tight swing state or something.
Yeah.
And that's just not the way Oregon has gone over the past 20 years.
Well, no, yeah, Oregon goes like how a lot of states go. It's like there's two big metropolis areas and the rest of it's all red. Like it's pretty much it's a lot of states. Wisconsin's like that, like Illinois is like that, like Ohio's like that, Indiana's like that. A lot of states are like that, man. Like Michigan too. Like
yeah. Although in Illinois and Oregon in particular, it's gone more steadily blue than like Wisconsin and Indiana.
Well, I mean that's
metropolises do more work.
Well, yeah. I mean that's also happening in Virginia as well. Virginia's becoming more blue because like suburban areas are getting more metropolisy and bigger, and that's more that Democratic base and what they're running for right now. But I wouldn't say they all do more work. It's just that red districts tend to be in the impoverished districts. That's what I really tend to notice. Like that's, I mean, and that goes back to a long history. I mean, I wish they'd have like a Civil War centered episode. Tim, do you know if there's a Civil War like centered episode where in like later on the West Wing, like where they end up like having to confront the like the daughters of the Confederacy or any of these like lost cause bullshitters? But I'm not sure if Sorkin was like brave enough to actually take on something like that.
Nothing is coming to mind right now.
That's okay. I mean, I do think back to like the fact that Martin Sheen was in Gods and Generals, so
yeah,
like a huge lost cause myth movie that is a bunch of fucking a bunch of nationalist propaganda from like the birth of a nation. So anyway, moving back into the lighter subjects.
That's a movie I haven't thought about. Yeah, well, I feel like that was like my 8th grade social studies teacher wanted to give us extra credit for going to see it.
Right.
When my mom found out that it was like a 3-hour-long movie, like back in like the early 2000s.
Right.
No, I'm not sitting through that. So.
It's 3 hours of Confederate propaganda. Like it is 3 hours of complete, like the only racial slurs you hear out of are from the Union soldiers. And it's like, oh, okay. So it's like
the Union ones were the actual racists.
Right. Like, and it's like, and they have all these bullshit ass scenes of slaves in the Confederacy like fighting in the army, and it's like, yeah, that didn't fucking happen. Like this guy being like, oh, I'm free and now I'm fighting for my master for wages, and I'm like, yeah, that never happened. Like that never happened. It never happened. But hey, that's that type of movie. But we might have to get into it once we're done with this season with that. Like,
yeah, for sure, we could do a watch of Gods and Generals.
Get real pissed off about it, right? Anyway, Leo asks for CJ for a theme in the
in the digital class in the
Yeah, I was a little confused about that too. Yeah, because wouldn't the theme just be like, we're going to Mars, we're exploring? Wouldn't it be the same thing it always is?
Well, yeah, the joy of exploration, or CJ comes to her own theme later on, in a good little moment at the end.
But isn't it wasn't the same thing? It was just like exploring. Like,
well, no, her final theme is "It's okay to fail," because they fucked up and lost the Mars rover.
Oh, I mean that's in the same context for me. That's like pioneering. It's like you're probably gonna fail. Like like you can't be afraid of it. But I mean, hey, that's still part of the same message for me. Anyway, Leo and the president are in the Situation Room. More Russian fear mongering and a lost signal from Galileo.
Yes.
Right, and then Josh gets to his explains the racist Puerto Rican policy of we have to support this because we can't isolate the white people who think that these people aren't entitled to not be colonialized.
Well, his point is that the White House can't take an official stand on statehood.
But they just put him on a stamp, and that's what Donna keeps pointing out. It's just like, well, you're putting him on a stamp. It's like you didn't have to embrace all of Elvis's views on like drugs to put him on a stamp. Like you just had to just put him on a fucking stamp. Like who cares? Yeah, Donna's being based. And then Josh. That's like some bigoted Mississippi joke where it's like it was something about like. No, because she mentioned that Puerto Rico has like 3 million people, and it's more people than like all the people in Mississippi, and they have a statehood. And he's like, well, maybe they shouldn't have a.
Yeah, exactly. That was a mistake. And
yeah, it's like maybe they shouldn't have a statehood. It's like, well, yeah, that's like, oh, what? Because they're stupid. Like, like these people who done live down here in this down land, they are done dumb. Like it's like, and it's like, well, and that's another thing. That's what kind of got me thinking on the Civil War stuff too a bit more. It's like. There's a big history of poverty in the fucking South because of the Civil War and the actions taken afterwards and then on force and still taken on today. And then when there are there is even a bigger left wing cause, like someone like, Huey Newton, for example. No, I'm sorry. Huey Long, for example, 40th governor of Louisiana, who he wasn't even calling himself a socialist or anything. He just was a guy who was saying, hey, if you go to a barbecue, should one man take what is meant for 90% of people and take that all with him? You'd say, no, get him back here. Right. A dude who was so popular for slogans like every man a king, but no one with a crown. The man who was so popular who had to get shot in the street in front of the State House. Like right the fuck there. Yeah. Like it's like, yeah, like when you have problems like that, where there's such a massive interest in extracting capital from the poorest of people, which has been the tradition in the South, which is why this is all happening. And that's why going to the military is such a big thing there. Cause it's one of the only prospects that are out there. Cause it's not been a place that's promoted economic growth. It's promoted a lot of bullshit capitalism. It's promoted a lot of not growing this type of thing. And that's not the people who live there that's not all their fault. It's just they're just usually trying to live there with their family and those who they love. And yeah, it's a huge mistake to downtrod on people like that who you don't understand. But it's it's that whole liberal principle of well, I'm trying to help people that I don't want to understand at all, but I know better than you, and I'm going to arbitrate your rules.
Huey Long also had the nickname the Kingfish.
Mm-hmm.
Such a badass, a Song of Fire and Ice style nickname. Yes, we stand our socialist anarchistic king, Huey Long.
I don't think he was socialist or anarchistic at all, though. I think he was doing his own thing. Because he was a person who was saying that FDR wasn't going far enough, but he didn't jump on with the Soviet Union like me. He wouldn't jump on like that.
That's because he saw what the Soviet Union was.
I don't think that's why. I don't think that's why, Tim. But anyway, because FDR had to make a little alliance with them too, just to beat back the forces in his own fucking land as well. So.
Yep.
Just saying.
And so did Hitler to conquer Poland.
And that's why Poland declared war on the USSR, right? Oh wait, that didn't fucking happen, huh?
They were occupied. They were occupied by the USSR.
But they declared war on Germany, right? They declared war on Germany because that's who they were at war with, right? Oh, interesting. Interesting. Anyway,
Well, you mean at the outset of the war? Because at the outset of the war, they were at war with both the USSR and Germany.
they never declared war on the USSR, Tim. They never did it. Look it up.
So the USSR just wandered in there and just happened to stay for like the sixth time in the history.
So you think Germany should have just taken all of Poland? That should have been that's what the Poles wanted. They just should have let like the Germans just walk in with the rest of it when the government ran away.
I mean, the USSR certainly wasn't trying to chase Germany out of the rest of Poland, were they?
I mean they fucking did, Tim. They did all the way. They did all the way to Berlin, baby.
Someone signed a treaty.
Tim, they did all the way to Berlin, Tim. A non-aggression pact after no one else wanted to like unite with them against the fascists. But we're going away from the West Wing, Tim. So we got to focus on our shit because there's gonna be plenty more Russian There's gonna be plenty more Russian fear mongering. You can jump on.
Oh, we're about to meet your absolute waifu here.
Oh, that's another great thing. The Russian sex pod. Oh my God, way to humanize people, Tim. That's that nice little liberal racism. That's fine when liberals.
Alien's ideal woman. How am I fetishizing her? She's hot. She's autocratic. She's she's your perfect lady. Straight out of a fucking James Bond film. That's also nothing but propaganda too. But anyway, CJ and Sam get ready for their concert. CJ's in a nice little blue dress. And Toby's coming with them too. I forgot about that. Toby's not coming with them.
Oh, Toby's not coming. Who's the third man? Is it Josh?
No, it's just CJ and
it's just CJ, Sam, and the president. Okay. Margaret, then Margaret's badly entertaining the Russian ambassador for Leo. They seem to know each other. They had that little flirty bit.
That's the thing. Leo knows everybody in the entire world, apparently.
And that's the thing. They also they think they dropped that later. No, they drop them later on in a different episode that like, oh yeah, I forgot like Leo was a Marine, like, or something like that. Like,
yeah, he was a pilot.
He's a pilot. Oh God. Okay. Anyway, she claims innocence, and then Leo has this great line of like, why didn't you just ask for help? Like, why didn't you just ask for help? It's like, well, maybe like every time like another country like asks the US for help, it's like always ends up as in like, well, we go in there, say they did this thing, and then they're at war with them, and then the whole country's destabilized. It's like maybe that's why like a lot of these countries, like some of these countries nowadays aren't like so eager for US help sometimes, like because they don't want to end up like Ukraine looks right now. Charlie ends up naming some songs that are going to be on the list in the concert for the president in the limo. President is all grumpy about it.
Yeah, total music snob here.
Yeah. Broader theme brought up to CJ again. Mallory, Leo's daughter, comes to say hi to Sam. I forgot that like Sam is always nervous about the women he's going to meet in the past. Like, that picture with the escort came out, and that's why I didn't talk to her. But
to face when you didn't tell your girl you were seeing about the hooker you slept with. Bad look for Sam. But then he does like try to big dog the shit out of her. Yeah,
that's the whole thing. If it's one thing if you just take accountability, but they keep writing this guy like he has to like, I don't know. He always has to big dick around when he's like a fucking writer. I think it just seems like Sam's kind of a power fantasy for Sorkin. Like we're like, man, if I looked this good, I'd say all this.
Yeah, absolutely.
The president mingles with guests. Sam gives him more news on the missile silo thing, that the liquid hydrogen was being drained, to suggest that the Russian soldiers were going to sell it onto the black market. They go and see the concert. Charlie tells CJ that during a break, when CJ leaves, Charlie tells CJ that he leaked the green bean story, that he told a reporter that like he told him a bunch of things that he likes, and also said like he don't like green beans. But and then as like a side thing, Toby tells CJ that Galileo might be online in a few days, that it has gone offline, and they don't know if they are going to be able to get it, but we'll find out in a few days. So the little conference with the little news conference with the kids, they're going to have to tell the children that they lost contact with Galileo and they don't know when he's going to come back. The church took him in, Tim. They kept him in his house and they made sure he didn't leave.
Yeah, that's right.
Then someone that CJ rejected from something or another. Like I forget, that was another bit of anxiety she had about like.
Yeah, she had interviewed a whole bunch of people from the State Department.
Yeah.
Hadn't hired any of them, and she was worried about awkward sexist confrontations like the one that she was forced to endure from that fucking jackhole in the State Department who somehow has a communications job, even though he has the charisma of like, I don't know, modern day Joe Biden or something.
Oh man, I'm not sure. It kind of seems like Buttigieg, like older Buttigieg.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, when he's like when he's like a little more solidified, he's like a little less gelatinous. But yeah, he has that like horrible thing about like, well, is it because like we slept together? Was it because we slept together? We did that, which just makes it really fucking weird. Just kind of gets into like, I feel like it's one of those like terrible arguments for like, this is why women shouldn't be in the workplace because like dudes don't sleep with each other and then like awkwardly confront each other about like this. And it's like, well, like
you obviously haven't spent that much time around gay people. The drama always runs rife. Like
it always does. It always does. Yeah, he tries to basically carrot and stick CJ a bit and just be like, well, but if you need anything, just like, if you need like need me to recommend you or anything, I got you. With no dice at all. No, just is out of there. Josh is on the phone with Sam about Mallory. Jesus Christ. Mallory comes up and then acts civil to Sam and like basically tries to correct him on his bullshit.
Yeah, because she's dating a hockey player, and Sam is just constantly ragging on this hockey player.
And how dumb he is. Like, hockey players are dumb. It's like, well, they could beat the shit out of you. I mean, that's how I have to say, like, they're dumb?
And he's also much better in bed than Sam would be, I'm sure.
Yeah. But Sam has got that security team he can, like, go and, like, have with him if he goes and starts shit at a bar. Like...
That's right. We saw that in season 1.
Yeah. That's something about like we're supposed to be explorers.
Yeah. I mean, all right. So some of this is like actual exploration. Some of this is just fucking like colonialism. Like, yes, going to the moon. Yes, exploring the oceans. But like exploring the West was just a matter of like killing everyone who was there and building gas stations.
But wouldn't you say that like actually like making space hospitable, like that would be like the best, like the most humane colonialism, where it's like there's nothing out there you're going out to kill. Like it's just out there. It's just a matter of like how you manage your resources and how you use technology to be able to use and refine other resources to keep your technology ongoing and sustain yourself.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely like that's Jeff Bezos' whole thing.
Yeah,
with his like blue sky shit is yeah, he wants to colonize Mars as like the alternative to fixing the Earth, basically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's what's so fucked up. I mean, because here's the thing, Tim. Even if humanity's going to survive, even if like we fix climate change, there's still going to be other disasters that are going to like destroy.
I disagree with him necessarily. Like,
yeah, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you. I think the part where we both differ on him is it's like we just don't want him to be in charge of it.
Right.
We want it to be more of a democratic system, but that's with the people putting up the money for it. They're making sure that's not happening.
Right. Exactly. And that to me is like one of the great tragedies of this episode and the way they talk about space travel is that like space travel is now the providence of like 2 billionaires.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Yeah. Sad, very sad.
Space travel is fucking cool.
It is.
Like, at the end of the day, going to space is just really fucking cool.
Yeah.
And it's just 2 people who get to do it now.
Yep. And thanks, Russia, for getting us started on going to the moon. Like,
yes.
Because God knows America wouldn't have done it on our own without the kick in the ass.
That's true.
Okay, Donna found precedent. She found some Jewish case law, and it got denied. Nice little bit of when you're doing your research and you get excited, and then you find out doesn't really help your case.
Yeah.
The Russian ambassadors with Leo. They said she said she wants neutral inspectors. President approaches and says, "Are you insane? You guys are broke. You guys aren't shit. Your soldiers are the ones stealing the weapons. Why don't you just ask for help? Like, don't why, guys, we'll run your elections for you guys. Like, we'll make sure there's someone in there that we really like. We'll make sure."
How could the U.S. possibly interfere with Russia's proud tradition of like free and open elections? They had one whole free and open election in 300 years. How dare the U.S. come in and mess with that?
Yeah, I mean, like no one decides about, hey, worked great for Iraq too. Like, they're doing great with their democracy right now that America established there. They just have to do it the way America wants it, man. That's just it. Man, just let us get in there and like get in those energy resources. Just get a little bit of that, hey, that's fine, man.
Russia would never stage elections in occupied territory.
That's why the most democratic society should just run on in, where we barely get a vote ourselves. All right. Yeah. I mean, where do you get the nerve for it? She says,
"From the long cold winter." I do like that line. That line slaps. I mean, come on. Yes, this is a Bond villain, but like at least they gave her that badass line.
It's not even a badass line. It's just more of a fucking like, oh, these cold people who don't feel emotions, who don't have feelings because they are hardened by the winter. It's like, yeah, just give me a fucking break. Like, it's like, like no, really, give me a fucking break. That's just like kind of having a caricature of an American, which we do tend to also like follow the stereotypes of being arrogant, of being ignorant, of being way more confident than you should be. But
I think a lot of Russian history is determined by the fact that they are a cold, arid place where it's very hard to grow accurate food. Food.
Well,
I argue that like the reason why they need Ukraine is because like Ukraine can grow food and most of Russia cannot.
I mean, I don't think that. I mean, they could also just trade with Ukraine too, but it's like that's not the issue of like why that's not why they're at war with them right now. But it's not because they need food. But yeah, but I see your point of like that's like the more fertile breadbasket of that Eurasian area. I understand that, but it's I don't necessarily think that like that the geography. I mean, it definitely affects a culture, but I don't think it like makes. I just disagree with the assessment that it's just like, well, the people are like this in general. It's like, yeah, I disagree with that. Like in general, like I don't think it's just, it's definitely like the Bond villain type of thing. It's kind of like, John Mulberry, who's also another complete fucking caricature.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, yeah, you're not.
We are dealing in caricatures.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. But that's kind of like a liberal mindset, in my opinion. The neoliberal mindset is like it's still kind of like a 1950s movie where like, like if you deal with a Chinese person and they're like, like they're all doing this and kowtowing and like they all have mouths by the book.
But isn't Vladimir Putin also kind of like a Bond villain? And he actually did ascend to be like autocrat of Russia. So like how off base is this really?
I mean, I do think it is pretty off base because I don't think it's exactly. I mean, right now, I think the perception of it is that it's like, yeah, we need to have Americans believe that like Putin is Hitler to get us stoked for the next war against him, like and where we're drawing ourselves for the Third World War. I think that's unwise because like it's like, yeah, I can do that like while disagreeing with Vladimir Putin. Like I'm not wanting to go to war.
And Putin is a Bond villain though. Like he was a KGB goon who like rose to absolute authority over the country. That's the backstory of a Bond villain right there.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you should look at the U.S.'s Bond. I mean, I don't know. That's the thing though. But do the Bond villains ever show like how evil like MI6 is? Do they ever show how evil the Americans are? No, like they don't. It's just Cold War propaganda about it, where it's like, yeah, well, that's pretty. Did they ever talk about like the cowboy kid who like never should have been president, who like started 2 fucking wars that he had no business starting because?
I mean, you're right. H.W. Bush also started off as an intelligence goon, but
Intelligence goon who don't even know shit. Like that's even like even better. All right, where were we at with this still? Oh yeah, long hard winter. The staff reveals the failures to the president on Galileo. CJ voices the whole green bean point again about like
we can treat people like they're smart. People get treated like they're idiots.
yeah. She had a conversation with Charlie earlier about like people are always dumb during election year. And to which I would somewhat agree, because and I remember in 2020 a bunch of people were voting for a piece of shit that I was like, don't vote for this guy, but they all thought they had to. So I mean, we all do a lot of dumb shit election years, but it's also like our choices since then have been not been much better, like not been better at all, really. Anyway, Josh says he wants said person on the stamp, goes with it. It sides with Donna. The president asks CJ about the concert. He says that the second half was brilliant. First half, he wasn't paying attention. The second half, he actually listened. It was brilliant. He thinks about Galileo. He says, do the classroom anyway. Everyone makes mistakes. You need to advance and reach for the stars.
Yeah.
And I didn't quite realize that was the direction, is that saying the mistakes are okay.
Stand up, go to the whiteboard. It's okay to make a mistake.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it is, man. It's like, even what we want to achieve is like something that has not been really pioneered fully. And people are, and critics are always going to look to the past and say where you failed and say that these people fail in these circumstances. And that's why it should never be tried again. You should stick with the system that you have. And I think that's very important to resist that and say that, well, yes, these people may be pioneers and going into places that they have not been explored before. And there's going to be mistakes being made. And you're going to have to learn from things. And to do that, you're going to have to look back in the past. You're going to see what your allies have done right and wrong. You're going to see what your enemies have done right and wrong. And that's the basis of exploring. You cannot be afraid to fail. You have to know that failure is going to come, and you have to be willing to accept it and move on.
Yeah. I think part of what's going to be teaching these kids a good lesson.
Right. Hopefully he'll go into his. He'll start off and he'll just say that, well, kids, today we're going to learn about the Cultural Revolution. We're going to learn about now this time. That'd be funny. Now, call back to a few episodes ago.
Yeah, exactly. We need a permanent revolution in space travel.
Where he was on like a manic episode on the plane on Air Force One and saying, "Mao had great ideas. He had a lot of plane rides like this." It's like, yeah, I think he was marching though. Like, I think.
Yeah. No, later in life, Mao did love a long plane ride.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Totally, he did.
On a plywood pallet. Because he was a weirdo.
True people's man. He was a genius, and he slept on plywood. Anyway, episode 12 of season 2.
We have a couple episodes here. Noelle is a good episode. It's just, I feel like it's a very like character episode. It's like Josh in therapy. And then the leadership breakfast, I don't remember much about what happened, except I think Toby suffers some kind of big political loss that should have meant that he's fired for like
again.
Yeah.
God, dude, Toby, bro, he's a bad boy.
Everyone on the show is Teflon. Like, so many of these people would have been fired or just resigned and gone to work for like multi-million-dollar jobs at banks or whatever.
to eventually, like, make enough money when they start, when Trump comes into office, they want to like jump onto his campaign.
Exactly.
And all right, the drop in. We have a situation room beeping. Leo enters. Something is launching. The president is meeting with a Thailand ambassador, having a whole little like signing ceremony, spoken word thing, and pictures. Leo's trying to grab the president, go to the situation room, saying you have to watch something. It's this missile test. President says the president says, this one's not going to work. I'm not too interested. It's fine. Leo likes his missile launch. Don't you? And Leo's a big fan of his missile launch. And President Bartlet makes a comparison to him and Charlie Brown and Lucy, and says that like, yeah, they're going to hold the football up for you, and you're just going to keep swatting at it. That's all that's going to happen.
Yes, this
And
says a lot about the military-industrial complex for sure.
yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing is, it's like, the military-industrial complex is like holding this out for you of like, hey, we need this, we need to do this right now, guys. We're so sure, there's weapons here, guys. We're so fucking sure. And then when it's not, they're just like, well, guys, we were so sure though, like we were so sure though, but like we were. Anyway, missile launch does not work. It missed its target by 137 miles. President Bartlet reiterates, "Good grief," which apparently Leo's never read, because it's like,
because he's an old man.
Yeah, he was an old man since he was like 55, since he was 10, like he was just 55 back then. CJ has a press briefing and explains the ambassadorship process and that they're vetting 4 ambassadors that day, and Sam wants a Clean Air Rehabilitation Act. They are preaching the global climate change crisis right now, and I imagine they're going to be so happy with how it's going today, because these Democratic warriors for climate change. I mean,
yes, indeed. Joe Biden still opening up massive amount of land for oil exploration, despite explicit promises.
Yeah.
It's all good in the hood.
All good in the hood, because he'll be dead by the time there's like, he'll be dead. He'll be dead by the time there's like any real problems.
There's more like environmental neoliberal rat fuckery coming. I'll call it out when we get there.
Alrighty, yeah, I know. I'm excited for it. I think I know what we're talking about here. Toby arrives. The president is speaking about at the GDC conference, which is like some environmental
group.
Yeah. Toby's pissed that he got boxed out by Sam in a speech about it was basically because he didn't call out these environmental terrorists for like blowing up, for like setting fire to some ski resort. And he needs to see Toby demands to see Leo. He's all pissed off. Josh is talking to CJ and Donna Burson, and she answered a reporter about Leo, that the crazy Brit, John Mulberry, Laura John Mulberry, is now going to be the British ambassador to America. Marbury, sorry. That's why I wouldn't last in Europe very long.
Yeah, we might have already gotten to it, because like when Toby is railing, I have a note that being British ambassador is pretty meaningless, because it turns out that when the U.S. needs Britain's help, they just bypass the ambassador and get Tony Blair to explicitly just commit to all of their propaganda.
Right. No problem at all here. It's all good in the hood here. England's got it together.
Up the new labor movement.
But I think I did skip ahead. That's when Toby tells Josh that the environmental terrorists bombed the ski resort.
So one of the things that Toby talks about with this whole environmental thing is that like, labor obviously hates the environmental movement, and this is that neoliberal rat fuckery.
Yeah, it is.
Of like, as the neoliberals passed free trade agreements and jobs like outsourced in mass, one of the rat fuck lines that they used to justify it, both the corporations and the neoliberal politicians, was that like, it's the environmental regulations. Actually, GE would love to keep this airplane engine plant open, but those goddamn environment. They can't dump PCPs in the river, and that's why they have to move. It's not the fact that like their labor costs are like a 50th of what they are here. It's those goddamn greenies on the other side that are driving all these businesses away, and it's bullshit.
Yeah, it is.
And it's trying to pit labor against two two special interest groups on the left against each other to
Yeah.
prevent any kind of reform from happening.
Or any left unity at all. Like, God forbid, you have to fight for your core issue and like fight your other potential allies on your core issue instead of like finding where common ground like you can actually find and then build the platform. Like, like, for it's kind of like the coal miners. It's like, well, yeah, like they'll end up blaming environmental people for like, trying to get rid of coal, but it's like, well, they don't like, they just need another job that like doesn't involve like killing yourself. Like just like that's the reason they're willing to do this job. It's so fucking horrible is because there's no other like there's not any prospects around there. Like that's actually reasonable. It's like just service industry. It's like, well, do you want to make the service industry better? Like, okay, like it's a fucking talk. Like it's at least like some idea, but that's not even on the table right now.
Right. Well, and the whole idea behind trickle economics was that like, oh yeah, we can remove heavy manufacturing from this country and just rely on the service industry, and it didn't work.
No, not at all. Well, I mean, it's just like, yeah, you're gonna rely on like the benevolence of retailers to just like not pay people the minimum wage, and not just reduce as much. I mean, it goes into the old like system of glut in capitalism is that you're gonna have the laborers always they're never gonna have enough to buy what they produce. Yeah, like they want like it's Whole Foods. I was working there for years, and I barely got groceries there.
Yeah,
couldn't afford it. Yeah, no, but that's an absolute great point on there on the rat fuckery of like putting two groups that like would have common interests if they didn't use the division that that their political that the political big dogs are using against them.
Exactly.
But yeah, Toby wants to drop in a condemnation into Sam's speech. Just wants to drop like in there ahead of Sam, like way over his head.
The term eco-terrorism is a pretty rat fuck piece of language as well.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't like fucking Avalanche we're talking about. This is like 20-year-olds who like set fire to a ski lodge.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I've heard of like just guests doing that type of thing in general too. So, like, I mean, it just kind of comes down to like just political prisoners, like like people you'll put in there. I think there was a person who was protesting Cop City who was like an environment. There's been a lot of bullshit thrown onto the environmental protesters protesting Cop City in Atlanta, in the Atlanta area.
I mean, this is like, I mean, this happened afterwards, but like after 2001, all those enhanced terrorism penalties were used to like absolutely throw the book at people who like just strap themselves to trees or whatever.
Yeah, like they're jihadists or something like that. But yeah, well, I mean, and I think that's just kind of like that. I think that's a point we're trying to illustrate here. Is it's just like these type of laws, like they'll have the baddie up here, and they're going to use them against like what the real baddie is to them, which is just anyone domestically trying to like just question these systems and trying to move against a narrative that they don't like.
Yeah.
But hey man, if it's a movement that they care about, bro, they'll let them protest at the airport, no problem. But hey man, if you guys ever want to try an experiment of how fast you can get arrested, then protest at the airport. You'll probably get arrested in like under 2 minutes. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the huge shit that happened when Trump did his Muslim travel ban and people were protesting at the airports. Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, they were allowed to. I mean, that's the crazy part. It's just like, okay, so for like this, like, okay, but yeah, some of them had cameras on them, but then some of them, like, if they didn't have cameras on them, they're just like, let's fucking take them in. Sam is reviewing the speech with staff. He's to illustrate he's working so hard on it. America's highest in CO2 emissions. They need to put a carbon cap. They talk about the little deal they had about like, corporations are able to like, buy carbon credit and sell that and that whole little system, cash incentive. Josh tells CJ that her friend Comedy shouldn't come to this dinner because no one laughed at his joke that he made.
Yes.
President meets with the Swedish ambassador, and Leo defends his precious little missile project to the president of no, we need to have our missile test to match up with everyone else.
Yeah, that's such a bad look for Leo. Like, he is just over here caping for the military defense complex, and it's a bad look. It's a terrible look.
One of the biggest polluters in the world, I should say, too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. The GDC standoff is suggested to the president. Bartlett rejects it. He's resistant. He's like, I'm only doing it for politics. Kind of feels kind of shitty to do it. Toby brings in the drop into CJ, and Toby gets it on Sam's speech. Toby then talks to Sam about the labor concern, the more the rat fuckery things. Sam talks to staff about like what makes a great speech just separate from a good speech. Yeah, get people.
It makes you, pulls you up out of your seat.
Like if you feel diarrhea coming down on you during the baseball game and you need to get up and take care of that. Josh and Leo talk missiles. Marbury sees Leo and he refuses to help Leo convince the president because he's saying like, yeah, well,
your system is illegal and it doesn't fucking work and it won't even protect my country. So like, why the fuck would I support those?
Right. CJ meets with the comedian over dinner and she wants him to reject going to the dinner. The president blows off Marbury for an hour, and Donna, meanwhile, like ask him for her love life advice because she likes an eccentric, European man.
She wants to marry into the aristocracy. She's Meghan Merkel before it was cool.
Yeah, I think she's like Meghan Merkel on the early stuff, right? CJ is bombing her interview with her comedian friend because he's basically saying like he laughed. CJ, he laughed at my joke.
Yeah, and his joke was about like brutal cops in New York, and Bartlett laughed because I'm sure it was a funny ass joke.
I'm sure because there's a little bit of truth to it, maybe.
Yeah, but it's no. Exactly, and the fallout for this was the entire media calling this guy like fucking Hollywood sleaze, out of touch with reality, and the Bartlett administration did not come to his defense. They were like, "It's okay that he's Hollywood sleaze because the president didn't laugh, even though he did."
Yeah, they end up doing a "Let's Go Brandon" thing about it, like where they didn't have to. They didn't have to lie, but they did, and it made them look way worse.
I'm sure it actually did help them in the polls with like Midwestern whites, but it really fucked them with this guy.
Yeah,
because he's a good soldier.
Yeah,
he's a good soldier.
Yeah. But no, yeah, he passes on the dinner and says like, okay, fine, but he's unhappy about it. So this thing about like you guys count on the black vote, but then you guys like don't let me actually say these things. Like you rely on this, but you condemn it. Yeah,
exactly. There's an interesting conversation where she's like we were trying to court independence, and he was like you were also courting the goddamn black vote, and that's why you had me on that stage in the first place.
Yep. So now I can get Jeff Foxworthy on there, and I'm sure the Larry the Cable Guy's booked.
Yeah, exactly.
Sam calls up Toby about the drop-in he put in, and Sam is like fucking pissed. It reminds me of Tim. Have you ever seen the movie Reds?
The movie Reds? No, I don't think I have.
See, that's all about that. That's another interesting potential movie, but that's like it's a movie about communists. It's an anti-communist movie overall. But it's about like this writer who like lived in like the USSR. But there's a part like kind of the middle end of it where they're like in like a Muslim country, and like he's telling this translator his speech, and like he's like telling him this thing, and like the people just start going like blah 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 jihad, blah 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 jihad, and he asks them like, well, what did you tell them? What did you tell them? He's like, no, I told them this thing and then this thing with religion and religious war. And he said, no, you changed my words. Why would you change my words? And like, it's this big, like dramatic moment. And it's like it makes me think of this. Like Sam is just like, I changed my words. Like, and gets as red in the face as I'm getting now. Donna mingles with Lord Murbury more. Sam is furious and speaks to CJ about Toby's point, and yeah, no, he talks to CJ and she just repeats Toby's point, and he's furious and he wants to go to the president. Toby argues military spending with Leo, and Sam's trying to put out that fire and confronts Toby, trying to put out his GDC fire, and he confronts Toby and goes to see the president, and Charlie won't let him see him. He's telling him he's booked up and sorry, you're gonna have to, you can't see him right now. So like Sam is left powerless, like without anyone to yell and like kick his feet to and pout to about his words being changed.
Yeah, exactly. They end up having a drink.
Yeah, they do end up having a drink. I mean, granted, it's like I do kind of understand. It's like you work like meticulously on a speech just to have like this shit thrown in over your head. Like I'd be pretty upset.
I'd be pretty upset. I'd be pretty upset the same way. Actually, watching this speech now reminded me of the most recent State of the Union, where I thought Biden's communications team actually wrote a pretty banger speech, but then it was just delivered by like a decrepit, stumbling 80-year-old man.
Yeah.
Like I imagine Sam's frustration must have been pretty similar to theirs.
Yeah.
It's like this rhetoric should be like getting people out of their chairs, but like he keeps botching the names of like major federal institutions and shit. So
yeah, he can't really read and recite like he used to.
Yeah.
Certainly never like Barack Obama ever could.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Sam puts out can't see him. Marbury still is he's still gaming with Donna. Lectures Leo and his bullshit about you have an illegal system, it's inaccurate, it doesn't work most of the time, it just creates the arms escalation. Like that's all you're really doing.
Right, exactly. Leo wants to put nuclear technology back in the box, but it can't be.
Yeah,
that's the fundamental truth.
Yep, that is. Toby then catches Toby catches Sam mad at the bar. He just kind of just does the whole like, well, you can grow up. Well, you can grow up. You can just deal with it. But it's like, I think just what Toby's not really realizing, it's the fact that it's the fact that you can just go in over someone else's head and just do that. And then you come out on top and you're just like, well, I'm fine. Like, it's okay. Like, it's just like, well, yeah, you... like you got what you wanted. Of course you're going to be fine. Like, as a matter of fact, why don't you just bask in it instead of just like hanging out with this guy in his misery? It's like,
right, exactly. Like Toby is Sam's boss, and sometimes your boss fucks you like that.
Yeah.
But then you also, as a boss, have to realize, no, I did just fuck you like that, and you're going to be upset about it.
Yeah, you're going to be upset at me. Like you get paid that much because your social circle is going to be smaller. Like that's.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the idea. I think that's the idea of compensation, in my opinion. Like that's how I'd approach it dialectically. Sam has explanations. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. The president just took a bunch of shit over the phone from all of his environmental allies. Treats them like chill. Like he basically knows like you have nowhere else to vote. You're going to support me. You're going to support me no matter what.
It's a very familiar chorus.
Yeah.
A very familiar chorus.
Gives Murbury his ambassadorship.
They actually raised the prospect in here of somebody running a leftist third party candidate. I think there's a brief mention of that of someone's contemplating running a third party challenge. I think they're all very dismissive of that idea.
Yeah, I mean, like if they get enough power to actually steal the vote from. I mean, they ended up blaming Ralph Nader for getting Bush in there anyway, which I wouldn't say it's necessarily Nader's fault.
Yeah,
I'd say that's like their bad policies' fault. the fact that George Bush beat him out is like says a lot more about them, in my opinion. Oops. Un momento, por favor. All right.
Yeah, Al Gore ran a bad campaign. Although that election was just literally stolen from him.
Oh, it was. It was totally stolen in Florida, like for sure. But I mean, well, actually, we can't say that on YouTube. That was a fair election, guys. That was a fair election.
Was just exercising their best legal judgment.
That was stolen compared to a fringe minority that is un-American, and they don't represent the working wings views. Anyway, then we get Lord Mulberry gets his ambassadorship with a little bit of unorthodox questions from Bartlett at the start of it. He asked some question he asked him like a missile question. He gives an honest answer about how the arms race is going to continue to escalate, and there's not much. I just won't support something like that. That doesn't help my country. Yada yada yada. Kind of gives his honest answer.
Yeah.
From that caricature, eccentric English guy that,
I know. Here isn't also where Josh raises the specter of like, well, how about instead of spending billions on this missile defense shield, why don't we just pay that money to North Korea to not test their weapons? Which like they make fun of Josh, but like also that's exactly what we did for decades.
Yeah.
Like that's exactly why they kept doing the missile tests in North Korea, because every time they did, like we would find roundabout ways to give them a bunch of aid money.
Yeah. I mean, I think the entire idea about this is that like, yeah, if countries that have nukes tend to not get invaded.
Yeah.
So it's that's a big thing to do with it too. But it's like I do see the point of they just giving them aid money just to have it be less likely they're going to be.
That's what we did for decades.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Literally, like.
Right. Just like not promote austerity. Like just like have people like not starve as much and be fucking okay. We have to worry about people being a little less hostile to each other.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's complicated. The whole North Korea thing is complicated. Probably a conversation for another episode.
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother argument we can get into for sure.
I don't even know where you stand on North Korea. Honestly.
You probably wouldn't like it.
I mean, do you think of North Korea as a like socialist power?
As a social, I mean, Tim, like, yeah, I would argue that they are like that they are socialist. Like, I would argue that they are.
Interesting.
Yeah. Interesting. But it's, I know we have there's lots of like lefty definition disagreements that you and I have.
Yeah.
That a lot of the left has.
I would categorize South America or North Korea as a monarchy.
Okay.
In that they have like a literal royal family who has all the money and power.
I know it's a little, it is a bit complicated up there, but it's like, is that necessarily what makes a socialist government necessarily? Like how is the economy controlled? Who necessarily controls it? Is there another foreign country in there controlling things? There's other questions to be asked about that type of thing too. So.
Yeah, a discussion for another time.
For sure. Another for another time. Maybe a little booze in us,
Exactly. We'll try to run it at like 3 a.m. in my duplex, annoying my neighbors.
Yeah. Drunk off shit off sake. So.
Yeah, exactly.
And soju.
Yes. You have to drink a lot of soju to get drunk, though, too. It's not strong.
It can be done. I mean, it goes down easy.
It does.
Goes down pretty good. But hey, folks, I guess we'll say that for next time. I guess until next time, folks, I guess that's all we got till now. Until like more. until more happens with the world. What were you saying, Tim?
I was gonna say, yeah, no, I think that kind of brings us, to the end. Was there anything that happened at the end, or was it just my notes end at Josh's whole North Korea idea? Is it just another, like, sentimental sort? They all go around the room and say, God bless America or some dumb bullshit like that.
Yeah, they do say some dumb bullshit like that after Marbury gets his ambassadorship.
God bless America. God save the Queen.
Yeah, some fuck that bitch.
As long as everyone in the room is agreed that there is a monotheistic God and he does bless your two global empires, we're all in agreement on that.
Yeah, it's this is where God pays attention.
Exactly.
Well, until next time, folks. The West Wing and the UK.
What episodes we're watching next time?
Oh yeah, what episodes are we watching?
Let's do the next two, actually. I think Bartlett's third State of the Union, and then the War at Home.
All right, episode 13 and 14, the second season. You got it next week, folks. It'll probably be on in the morning, unless I get a big old tummy ache again.
Yes, indeed.
But until next time, folks, keep on working.
Keep on working.